Hey guys, welcome to Odin School of Mysteries. My name is Bear, and this is number 9. Right? Well done, you've made it this far. Congratulations. You should be proud of yourself. This is a big deal. Number 9 is called the number of Odin. Did you know that? It's pretty exciting. And in honor of this auspicious of videos, pretty sure I'm using that word right. I think I am. This very special video, in honor of this very special video, we're going to do something pretty awesome. We are going to cover the first 3 steps of Odin. Isn't that exciting? I'm excited. I'm really excited. This is really exciting for me. But then again, I nerd out over this stuff. So, you know, I'm going to put I just realized I should probably put this on silent. Airplane mode. There we go. I just had this vision of my phone going off. Anyway, the first 3 steps of Odin. This is going to be fun. So one of 2 things are going to happen. If you're someone who has been really into this so far, you've been really excited about it, you've been really taking what we've been talking about to heart, this is going to be a fun video for you. And the reason it's going to be a fun video is because it's going to give you a roadmap to where we're going. It gives a lot of reasons why we've done things the way we have thus far. The order in which we have covered things has been on purpose. You have to, excuse me. You have to build very carefully each stone. So, because everything is connected, everything relates to each other. Which is why, you know, when we're talking about truth and we're talking about polarity, you know, and you go into some other part of things, of symbolism, we start talking about polarity again, you already understand why that is the way it is. And so, this will offer you a lot of that outline and why we're covering it the way we have. So, here's the deal. In order to make a lot of these illustrations, sorry for the preamble. In order to make a lot of these illustrations, I'm going to reference Freemasonry quite a bit. And I'm doing that on purpose. 1, everyone has heard of Freemasonry. Everyone has. I mean, they basically made a fan tribute to them in National Treasure. You know, it was basically a movie for the Freemasons. You know, it's just, you know, it's like porn to them. And so, because everyone's heard of them, everyone is obliquely sort of familiar with their symbolism, I'm going to use them because it's very convenient to. Even though our system, the system I came up through, doesn't always match. It's not an apples to apples kind of comparison, but there are some things that are close enough that it makes for a convenient reference point. So, starting right off, excuse me, I think my wife might be getting me sick. Shame on you, wife. Alright. I like my wife. She's cool. I married way out of my league. Anyway, so starting right off, the Masons have 33 degrees. And so, like we talked about before, I didn't learn from my last video. So like we talked about before, all esoteric symbolism, particularly mystery school symbolism, has 3 different components to it. It has a physical component, where a symbol represents something physical in the human body. It has a mental component, it has a spiritual component. On the physical component side of the 33 degrees, it represents the human spinal column. There are 33 vertebrae in the human spine, ending up here in the Temple of Solomon. This is called the Temple of Solomon. In the Odinic mysteries, your brain, your skull cap, your skull is called Asgard, the land of the gods, land of the thinking people. Okay? So, we do not have 33 degrees. We have 9. We have 9 degrees right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, that was actually fairly generous. Typically, this up here isn't seen. It just ends right there. These are called the temple rites or the secret rites. So like, as I say, in becoming a black belt, once you've gotten your black belt, finally you get to learn karate. Right? In Freemasonry, once you get your 33rd degree, you finally get to start learning Freemasonry. And this is the same thing with here. That once you get to your 9th step, the 9 steps of Odin, finally, at that point, you've done all the groundwork and you actually get to start practicing it and start actually learning the true teachings of it, because you're not dealing with fundamentals anymore. So, there are the 9 steps. Here, you have. I want to be able to understand me, so I'm not talking about the height. So, you have 9 steps, and they're separated. They're distinguished by 6 rites. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 3 gates. 1, 2, 3. You always go through 2 rites, 1, 2, and then you pass through a gate, number 3. This, like Jacob's Ladder in Masonry, is a 2-way street. So let's say you're a god, let's say you're Odin, and you fall into the underworld. You pass through each gate and each rite as you fall. As you start losing your abilities, until you're back down here in the underworld, down here where most people live. Likewise, if you're most people and you're one of the 1 in 10,000 people, maybe 1 in 100,000, who begins to wake up and starts seeing the matrix, you start to climb. You start climbing the ladder, and you pass through just going through the opposite direction, going back up the ladder the opposite way. So, most of this is blank. I filled in what I could, because by and large, either you won't understand this yet, because you have to get through all this stuff first, and some of this stuff is just it's stuff that's taught in person. It's just taught in person. I don't want to give you the power to, make coffee with your mind if you are a bad person. So most of this stuff is typically kept secret until you've actually been initiated into the mysteries. I might cover some stuff up here, but I'm not going to tell you, we're not going to do a lot of it. Absolutely. Yeah, not a lot of it. So most of what we're going to deal here is just in this section. And, good for me, I made a bigger version of it. If I spill it? No, it is not. Okay. Because I know you tuned in to watch me smoke my pipe, didn't you? All right. So, the gates. The two rights. 1, 2. Then you have the gate up here. 3. Each step is gendered. Remember? Do you remember why it's gendered? What gender means? So the first right here is called the renunciation of the dead. Right here. And this rite is the very first rite. It's the initiatory rite into the Odinic mysteries. When you pass the tests, you ask the right questions, and you're deemed ready to join, you're initiated with a ritual. This is that rite. This right here. And it is gendered as male. And if you'll remember, do you remember why gender is important? Do you remember why we covered that? Why is that important? The sacred masculine. In symbolism, masculine traits always represent energy outward, like we covered, but more importantly, in this case, it represents things that are quantifiable on a piece of paper. It represents things like lists of things, lists of information, mathematics and science and logic, those kinds of things. And so, when you pass the first rite, you start working on all the things that we've been working on now, which is all the book work. You start learning about the philosophy, you start learning about symbolism, you start learning about all of that stuff. It's just all the laborious study of memorizing things, right? It's super interesting. Well, it is. It's really interesting. At least it was to me. It was really interesting. I have notebooks full of notes from lectures and stuff I've listened to. It takes a lot of time. So, it's gendered as male for that reason. Because you're learning lists. Which is more, it's at the first rite in which you're instructed on the first arcanum. Remember all the way back. Do you remember what the first arcanum is? First arcanum, an arcanum is something that must be known first before all other things must be known and can be known in their appropriate context. It's the thing that must be known first before all other things can be known and understood in their appropriate context. The first arcanum of the School of Odin is that you're dead and you're in the underworld. It's the first thing that's taught to you. Now, this is what is taught to all mystery school initiates in every mystery school, almost without exception. I don't know if, say, the Masons go as far as we do. I don't know. But I do know that the Masons, the first degree is called the Entered Apprentice. And in the interred apprentice, you enter your internment. You're a dead person. The interred apprentice is brought forth, and they're made to stand on a checkerboard floor, which represents dualism. The dualistic mind. And we covered what that means. It means that you are not in balance anymore. Your brain isn't in balance. You operate either almost exclusively in the masculine or feminine side of your brain, the side of your consciousness. Like you've maybe heard of the checkered life of the unenlightened man. You know, you get in bar fights, you don't know why the cops keep coming to your house. That sort of thing. The blind man who stumbles into things. That's what the checkerboard floor represents. So they are brought forth. They're made to wear disheveled clothing. They're put forth on the checkerboard floor. They're blindfolded and they have a rope around their neck. They call it a tow line. We have a noose. Slight difference, but same symbol. All right. So you can kind of see the same idea. If you're from the outside looking in, which happens a lot, this whole thing seems very, very macabre. Very macabre. Why all the coffins? You know, why the swords? Why, in the case of the Odinic School of Mysteries, why the noose? Why is Odin called the gallows god? From the outside looking in, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's because you're in the underworld. You're dead. Your light, the light that is you, the real you, your real spirit, is interred in your body. You're buried. You're underground. And this is the first arcanum of all mystery school doctrines, without exception. Without exception. That's why in the Eleusinian mysteries, they'd take you underground for your first rites. You'd go into a cave or something, or a labyrinth sometimes. So, it is upon this revelation that you're told that you're dead. And now you begin to kind of start seeing the beginnings of this. You're a dead person. And now, here's a list of things to learn. And what this does is it starts forcing you to think. Our whole lives, your whole life, you've been taught how to think, you've not been told how to think, you've been told what to think and why to think it. You have not been given all the information. The chief goal of the mysteries, the first thing that is done, the whole point of these first three sections right here, is to get you to think again. It's to get you to think, to start using your brain, to start using your mind, activating your mind, and practicing using it. Because it's your mind. It's your mind that connects you to your spirit. Your mind is what connects you to your spirit. And if you have a soft mind that you never use, you're going to have a very poor connection to your own spirit. To your own spirit side of things. So, the first chief responsibility of the mysteries is to teach you how to think. Not what to think, but how to think. How to access your mind. How it functions. Why it functions the way it does. And to get you to start crunching those numbers and start flexing that muscle over and over and over again to start building up a beefy, strong connection with your spirit. The mysteries are not a religion. The mysteries are not a religion. There is absolutely no expectation of belief whatsoever in the mystery schools. Typically. Typically, there is no expectation of belief in the mystery schools. Because they're not religions. You do not have to be an Odinist to be a part of the Odinic School of Mysteries. A lot of people who end up joining mystery schools of any kind are atheists. You don't have to, be a Christian, for example, to join the Christian mysteries. And there's a lot of really great mysteries in Christianity. They're fantastic. They're really awesome. And if you fall in that direction, it's worth looking into. But, and we cover a lot of those here too, by the way. Because I'm a nerd for this kind of thing and I can't help it. So upon getting you to flex your muscles, we could reestablish. Upon getting you to flex your muscles, we could reestablish your connection with your mind, and having a strong mind, we could reconnect you with your spirit, which is your ticket out of here. Okay, it's your ticket out of the underworld. So, that's the very first one right here. Which is number 1 right here. This is the masculine one. It represents this rune right here, which is the Manaz rune. The Manaz rune. It's masculine. It's the masculine rune. It's man. It even kind of looks like an M. Actually, all of these kind of look like they're appropriate letters. So the number 2 up here is the feminine one. Now, we talked about this before. In our philosophy of gender section. What did I do with the things? In our philosophy of gender section. What does the feminine represent? Represents things that are not quantifiable on a piece of paper. She represents creation. And we're basically recreating your mind by getting you to work it and exercise it. But which is more, she represents emotion. Things like emotion, art, love, those kind of things. And so, when you start learning her side of things, the side of things that she represents, you're not just learning a lot of facts and figures anymore. You're starting to develop a personal connection to them. They start to mean something to you. I'm not just listing off words like you would in a dictionary. You're starting to make a connection. You have an emotional connection to it. And what that does, with her side of things it does, I could write a circumpunct. We'll use this just as an example. Circumpunct. This is called a circumpunct. Now, with a strong emotional connection to the doctrine, that's not the right word, to the information, with a good understanding of the philosophy of symbolism, with her engaged, you could take this and start through artistic skill and thinking, you could start turning this symbol around in all its different directions. You could say, okay, well, if I was building this in a 3D universe, what would that look like? You would start to kind of, you start to work it around in your mind. And then you would no longer, once that begins to happen, you'll no longer need me to come and tell you what this means. Right? You'll no longer need to. You won't need anyone to. You wouldn't need anyone to. You start to become alive. Odin and Frigg begin mating, which is important because your whole life, they haven't been. They haven't been mating. The two parts of your neocortex haven't, though they have been talking to each other, those symbolic forces, those masculine and feminine forces, haven't been communicating because you've been way too far off on either the sacred masculine side, which is all just the facts, figures, logic, no emotion necessary, or you've been way off on the other side, which is all the feminine energy, all emotion, all inclusion, all just love and art and blah, 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 but with no guiding principle. No, they equal each other out. They talk to each other. The masculine reigns in the feminine, and the feminine creates for the masculine. And you begin to think, and it begins to establish a connection. Understand? So, then we get to the top one. See the S? That's the sun. Represents the sun. S for sun. And it's called Solio. The Solio rune. Alright? The Solio rune. In Masonry, it's called the Stargate. Or the eye. Always represented as an eye. Typically, it's represented as a triangle with an eye in it. Why is that important? Well, we've covered why that was important under the gender, the symbolism of gender section. How you get to the all-seeing eye. Oops. How you get to the all-seeing eye, right? We cover that because with these two things meeting, it creates unity. Unity, not just with your mind, but with your spirit. Not just with your mind, but with your spirit. Not just with your mind, but with your spirit. And your spirit is the ticket out of here. Okay. So in the dark occult, we're talking about like in the cults of Saturn and some brands of Satanism and Setianism, and the higher, more oblique orders, like way all the way up into like the higher echelons of government and business and entertainment. It is believed that because most people on Earth do not have any spiritual connection whatsoever, don't have any spiritual connection whatsoever, that they're dead. And being dead, they could do whatever they want to you. There's no moral, there's no bad outcome from that. This is their words. This is their belief. That there is no bad outcome from harming the dead because they're not alive. Right? If you murder a living person, well, then that's bad. You do get some moral karmic pushback from that. But if you torture a dead person, they're not alive. Their spirits and their minds aren't engaged. So this kind of stems from the same philosophy, but they come to it from a totally different, a very evil way of thinking about it. So their goal is to keep people under here divided and in dualistic nature, where they're dead and they can't think. And they could just string them along however they want. They're upside down spears. We've covered what that means. go back and look it up. They're upside down triangles. You can just push and you go where you want. The reason, so that there's three main degree. The first 3 degrees in Masonry is called the interred apprentice or interred apprentice, the underworld apprentice, the fellowcraft, and master mason. Now, the master mason is given a word. It's called the secret word of the master mason, and the master mason has the power to raise the dead, to set the captives free, to do all these powerful things with his secret word. And he's also called, in some circles, called the master player. The master player, like a chess game. The master player sees the whole board in front of him. Where most people are like the little chess pieces, they only see just the dots that concern them. The master player sees the whole board and all the different squares that are available. He could strategize, he could think, he understands things. And so when you reach this section right here, this is the part that sets you free from the underworld. It's the part that makes you a master player. You go through the Stargate, you reach the sun, essentially, symbolically speaking. The sun is made of fire, your spirit and your body and your mind are all transformed into something new. Because finally, you're able to start engaging with your information. This is called the Gungnir Spear. This is called Gungnir. Can you see that from there? Right there. Gungnir. Right there. Because upon reaching this part of the world tree, you get to start changing reality in the sense that you're no longer a victim to your own circumstances. You get to start taking things out of the realm of possibilities, out of the realm of causes, and put them out into the physical world, which is the realm of effects. You're no longer a slave. You can no longer be pushed over. You can think through problems. You don't believe just what you're told. You could think, okay, I could think about this and come to the right conclusion all on my own. It really sets you free. And it's the part of the story where the captives get to be set free. Because they pick up their spear from the ground, which has been interred, and now they can wield it in the world. Which is a really liberating and fun thing. But just above the spear here is the next section. Right here. It's where you're unified. Right here. Down here is Earth, symbolized by Earth. Up here is water. So you're unified right here. So now you're no longer dualistic. Now you're single. Now you're single. You have ideally, by the time you reach here, you have reached the point where both things are unified, and you have now made a connection with your spirit. You've now made a physical connection with your spirit again, which is quite an amazing experience once that happens. It's can't describe it. It's amazing. It's fantastic. You're no longer stuck, right? So, there's just a lot to get through. So the Stargate, or the Sun Room, is a gate. It's So these first two are rights. Are rights you have to pass. First rite is the rite of initiation. The second rite is the this is the renunciation of the dead, and this one is the acquisition of the runes. So the renunciation of the dead is that you're told that you're dead and you're aware of it now. You are aware that you're hanging on the world tree, as Odin was. Okay. Odin hangs by his spear for 9 days, or hangs from the world tree for 9 days and 9 nights. Then he sees the water, he sees the runes here in the waters of Erd. Up here's the waters of Erd. It's the waters here. And then upon seeing them, upon seeing the runes, his spear is removed from its internment. It's pulled out of his body. It's no longer interred within him, so the light shines forth. Being stabbed with a spear represents the suffering that the interred person undergoes living in the underworld. It's the, like we said, living on the checkerboard floor. It's the checkered life of the unenlightened person. He can't see where he's going. He has no light. So he stumbles about wildly. He bumps into things. He gets into bar fights. He cheats on his wife. And then says, why do bad things keep happening to me? Because he's ignorant of all the laws he's breaking. Going through this is a little bit like becoming a lawyer. He becomes ignorant of all the laws that he's breaking. So, upon seeing the runes, which rune actually means wisdom. It literally means wisdom. A rune literally means wisdom. Having seen literally wisdom, he gets set free. Right here. This is what this represents. Odin passes the gates of the underworld. See what we said before. Have I said it in this? I had to do a couple of takes of this because my wife kept coming in. So maybe I missed. Maybe I didn't say it in this one. Okay. Side note. All mystery school traditions are always based on a dying god myth. All of them. I'm sorry this is taking so long and so it's so haphazard. All mystery school traditions are based on a dying god myth. All of them. If you're part of the Christian mysteries, your dying god myth is the death and resurrection of Christ. If you are an Eleusinian mysteries, your story is the story of Eleusis, his death and resurrection, or his journey to the underworld and his journey back. If you're from the mystery school of Odin, your mystery is your dying god myth is the death and subsequent resurrection of Odin. If you are part of the mystery school of Osiris, same thing. Okay, you just keep going. They're all based on dying god myths. This mystery school here is based on the mysteries of Odin. Right? So, I'm sorry that I forgot to say that earlier. I should have. And now we're at 38 minutes and you're probably getting bored. So, I'll try and wrap this up. This is a gate. Every gate has call them a passphrase, but really they're called keys. We covered what a key was. A key is basically a symbol written in words. Okay. They're something that you place over a set of ideas or doctrine that illuminate them in a way that gives you their full context. It's like a looking glass that puts all the pictures in order. Right? There's some very famous ones. See the end from the beginning is a really famous one. But it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you have already learned the doctrine. You have to have both the key and the door before you can pass through it. So, the key to the door of the underworld is 3, my name is unity. 3, my name is unity. I'm not going to tell you what that means. Sorry, folks. Because in order for this to work, my job is to get you to awaken. That's what my job is. My job is to teach you how to wake up. That's what I'm called to do. That's why I'm here, which is why I'm, taking my own personal time during my day to do this for you. All right. Part of that is thinking and solving problems. I have given you all the tools to solve this. To solve this word problem. 3, my name is unity. Do that, and you can open the gate. But this is the more important part. This is the most important part. The others require a ton of work. These other things require a ton of work. These here. You notice that these here are equal. Because you kind of work at both of them at the same time, depending on who you are. Like for me, this one was easier than this one. The masculine side was easier than the feminine side. But for someone like my mother, who hopefully is listening, the feminine side is way easier. She has a tremendous capacity for compassion. She understands. She is like full-blown 100% sacred feminine to the core. She's going to have a harder time with this side. Typically, depending on how you're aligned, how balanced you are at the beginning, one of these is going to be much more difficult than the other. Way more difficult than the other. Usually you breeze past one and you struggle with the other, or vice versa. Right. But in order to actually pass the gate, which is why it's really convenient if you're actually in the school, so that you could, people could help you along the way. In order to actually pass the gate and connect with your spirit, you have to do this work. You have to do this work. I mean, even if you figure this out, and if you do, congratulations. 3, my name is unity. Even if you figure that out, you still got to do the work. It's not a magic passphrase. It's not like you're not summoning something from on high. Right. It's that engagement with your mind that sets you free. It's the only way out is in. Know yourself, and you'll know the universe and the gods. You have to look inside and recognize that pattern that exists within yourself. And start making those connections. Start working on your mind. Start pondering as an unbiased observer, why am I mad right now? Why am I upset? Start becoming educated on your own emotions and your own feelings and your own hang-ups, and start actually working on yourself. Start thinking about things in a logical way. Start saying, I'm having an emotional feeling right now. Is that based on anything? Am I just having feelings, or is this on something that's logical? Right? And that's what's hard. People are super afraid of observing themselves. And I'm really sorry that that's the case, but it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. But having done that, having passed this section, you're basically set free at that point. Everything else is just candy. Everything else is just coolness. And that's what I hope, that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to experience your full potential. I don't want you to be pushed around. You make it through the gate, and then the news media starts saying something, and you go, well, that doesn't seem right. You're trying to get me to have an emotional reaction to this when it's just not logical. Or vice versa. You're trying to make a logical argument, but really we should be having some compassion here. So you can't be pushed around anymore. There's no pushing you around anymore. You are a free man at that point. A free woman. You're no longer bound to the laws that govern the underworld. You're set free. And I'm sorry this video's taken so long. And I'm sorry that it's not as organized as I would like. But all the same, I love you guys. And I want you to be free. And I want you to take this information, like if you're a Christian, you know, this information isn't like, isn't just for the heathen community. You know, you could take the same information and it's just a way of organizing the truth, is all this is. All any of these mystery schools are is just ways of organizing the truth. You could take this to Christianity and it will fit. And it'll fit. You could take the story of Christ, put it right on top, and it will absolutely fit. That's just the way it works. You know, like I say before, this stuff isn't really. I don't know if I said it before. I don't know. It's a little bit like truth is data. It's just like it's like a base code that's just floating out in the universe. The mystery schools are like operating systems that just organize it for you in a way that makes it accessible. And so, in that way, there is only one truth. There is only one truth. But there are many ways of accessing it, in my opinion. So, you know, like what Jesus said, you know, my Father's house has many rooms. This, what we're talking about here, the Odinic side of things, the mystery schools of Odin, is just one room in a vast house. So, I think I'm done. I love you guys. I want you to be free. All right. Have a good day. Bye.